Hi everyone, so we are on the final chapter of Junie B. First Grader, Boss of Lunch. Chapter 9, Baloney. Monday. Dear First Grade Journal, Room 1 is still mad at me about Friday. After we went back to the room, Mrs. Gutzman brought bologna sandwiches for the children who didn't eat. They were not a hit. I sat at my desk and I ate out of my new lunchbox. I had a tasty peanut butter and jelly sandwich because brought lunch is better than bought lunch. And that is not even my fault. Some of the children watched me eat. They made growly faces at me. Today, Herbert is my only friend. Also, Lenny and Jose are being reasonable. I wish Friday never happened. From Junie B, first grader. I peeked my eyes at the clock. It was almost 2:15. Just one more hour before I could go home. I tried to make the clock go faster with my eyes. It did not actually work that good. Just then, there was a knock on our door. Mr. Scary answered it. "Why, hello," he said. "Why, hello yourself," said a friendly voice. And guess what? It was Mrs. Gutzman. She walked in the room with 2 boxes in her arms. My heart pounded and pounded to see that woman, 'cause what if she came to scold me? I slumped way down in my seat so she couldn't see me. Mrs. Gutzman set the boxes on Mr. Scary's desk. Then she looked all around the room. I slumped in my seat even farther. Only too bad for me because Blabbermouth May pointed at me. "Mrs. Gutzman," she hollered. "Junie Jones is trying to hide from you. She is sliding down in her chair so you can't see her, but I am keeping track of her movements." After that, I slid all the way to the floor under my desk. I curled into a ball and hid my head. Pretty soon, I heard feet walking to my desk. I'm getting used to that sound. The feet stopped next to my chair. I opened one eye and peeked out. I saw the bottom of Mrs. Gutzman's white apron. "Junie B," said her voice, "why are you sitting on the floor?" I didn't move any muscles. 'Cause maybe she would still go away, possibly. "Junie B," said Mrs. Gutzman again, "I brought something for your class. Don't you want to see what it is?" I shook my head real fast. "No, thank you. I don't want to see it, and so you can be on your way now, please." I opened my other eye and looked at her feet. They kept on standing there. Then, all of a sudden, I heard a loud groan. And what do you know? That woman squatted right down next to me. I was shocked to see her. "Mrs. Gutzman," I said, "what are you doing down here?" Mrs. Gutzman did not look comfortable. "Please, Junie B, I need your help," she said. "I brought cookies for your class today, but there's no one up there to help me pass them out." I rolled my eyes way back in my head, 'cause that was not even the truth, of course. "Yes, there is, Mrs. Gutzman. There are lots of people up there to help you." Mrs. Gutzman shook her head. No, you don't understand," she said. After that, she reached into her pocket and she pulled out a pair of plastic mitts. "I need a real helper, Junie B," she said. "I need someone with experience." Mrs. Gutzman smiled, kind of painful. "Please," she said, "if we don't stand soon, I'm going to fall right on my keister and you'll never get me up." I did a teensy smile, 'cause that was a little joke, I believe. Finally, I crawled out from my desk and I helped Mrs. Gutzman stand up. "I guess I can help you pass out cookies," I said, kind of quiet, "but some of these children are still very mad at me, you know?" Mrs. Gutzman held my hand. "Yes, well, I think maybe I can fix that." After that, me and her walked to the front of the room together, and Mrs. Gutzman showed everyone the cookies. "Sugar cookies," shouted the children. "Thank you, Mrs. Gutzman, thank you." Mrs. Gutzman put her hands on my shoulder. "Don't thank me, class," she said. Junie B. Jones is the one who reminded me to pay you a visit this year. She's the one you need to thank. For a second, no one said anything. Then, all of a sudden, Herb hollered out, "Thank you, Junie B. Jones." And then all of the other children hollered, "Thank you, too." I grinned real big because those words felt happy in my ears. After that, I hurried back to the sink and washed my hands. Then I quick put on my mitts and ran back. Mrs. Gootsman gave me a thumbs up. "Ready to go, helper?" she said. "Ready to go," I said back. And so then both of us passed out all the cookies together. And I did a perfect job. And so here is what I am thinking. I am thinking that maybe someday I won't be the boss of lunch after all. Maybe someday I will just be the boss of cookies instead. Because boss of cookies is the most delicious job I've ever heard of. Plus also, I will get to make all the cookie rules. And I have already thought of rule number 1. I wrote it in my journal so I won't forget it. Rule number 1. The boss of cookies gets to have 5 sugar cookies all to herself. P.S. Only never eat them in front of the children, because that would be rude probably. P.S. again, plus sometimes she can even eat 6. Ha! The end. And that is the end. She finished it right there in her journal. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Junie B. First Grader Boss of Lunch. You can go online and take your AR test for this. I will put the points at the bottom, or the AR code at the bottom of the story.